And we are live. Hi, this is Eric from Longbox Review at longboxreview.wordpress.com.
Hi there, comic book friends. This is Travis from Oddfellows Thoughts on YouTube.
Welcome back, Travis. Glad to have you, especially on this spectacular live broadcast of the best of 2013. I don't know. Do you say 2013 or 2013? Does it matter? Who
I
cares?
don't think it matters.
So Travis and I are doing our annual best of episode where we take a look back at the previous year, the comics that we've read, and we just kind of talk about the things that we liked. And I call it a best of episode, but it's really just kind of our favorites, I think.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to change how I refer to this, Travis, because the best of, I don't know. We obviously don't read everything, so it's just our favorites.
Right. Yeah.
Well, although Travis,
as soon as you say best of, then I get pretty anxious anyway, because I have a really hard time narrowing things down to like even a top 5, let alone the best of something. So.
Yeah, I know. So did you happen to count how many comics that you purchased over the last year?
No, God, no. No, I just did.
What?
I just did that. For those who watch my videos, I just did a pull list video where I show all the comics that I pull. That was pretty frightening alone. So I don't want to know how many books I get in a year. Can't imagine. Do you know? Do you know how many books you got in a year?
I kind of like to count stuff like that,
Oh,
and I keep a
God.
spreadsheet of everything. I keep a spreadsheet of everything that I purchase every week.
Uh-huh.
And at the end of the year, I go back and count them all up, just to see, what we're talking about here. And it was about 975 titles that I bought, and that includes monthlies, ongoing series, that includes one shots, that includes limited series, which I got about maybe half a dozen, maybe 8 limited series over the year, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And also any trades that I happen to purchase. So, yeah, almost 1,000 books.
I'm sure I have to be somewhere close to that. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I think we get about the same amount of stuff in general.
So how many long boxes that a year we buy? 2?
Well, I think I bought 3 or 4 this year.
Yeah.
And I need another one already.
Yeah. I don't have all my books put away yet for the year, so I know I'll need more once I actually get those stacks put away. So, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing, though. That just means there was lots of good stuff to read, right?
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's jump right into the just kind of the general 2013 stuff. So, what do you think about 2013 in the comic book world? Was it a good year? Was it an okay year? Could it have been better? All the above?
Well, it can always be better, right? Because I'm a half-empty kind of person, I guess, so it can always be better. No, I think there was some great stuff was done in 2013. I mean, there were some low moments, but I don't know. I think it was a pretty good year.
Yeah, I would agree. There's such a lot of books that I read over the year where, most of them are good, right? They're good enough.
Right.
I won't say they're just mediocre. They're good enough, and I enjoy them. I get some level of enjoyment out of them. Otherwise, I wouldn't read them, right? I drop them, and I did that. I did a fair share of dropping of stuff, but I bought a lot of new stuff over the year, and Image springs to mind as the top creative enjoyment, I guess, out of the things that I've read from Image. Marvel, I'm going to say, came in at a number 2. And it wasn't a close number 2, but the stuff that I was reading from Marvel, actually, I enjoyed quite a bit. And my list that we'll just discuss here in a minute, our lists, I'm sure we'll be talking about that. DC didn't do so hot, in my estimation, for the past year.
Oh, really? See, and I thought DC was pretty stable as a general rule, and it isn't until going into the end of this year and rolling into next year that Marvel feels like it has a lot to offer me.
Hmm.
And maybe that's just with the starting of all their number ones they're going to start rolling in. But a lot of the stuff that I tried of Marvel this year, I was not really excited by. So I don't know.
See, and I was. So yeah, I'd be really interested to see what you have to say coming up in the next, say, 3, 4, 5 months
Yeah,
concerning Marvel.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get started. But first, Travis, I have a little surprise for you. As you know, and some of the followers out there know, I went to the very first Palouse Comic Con in Pullman, Washington.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know,
That's the
Pullman,
middle of
Washington
nowhere.
is yeah, middle of nowhere. It's in eastern Washington. It's about 80-ish miles south of Spokane, if you know where Spokane is. Uh, that's probably the biggest city to us.
Oh,
Anyway, this guy from, I think it's Renegade Studios. I may
that
be wrong
sounds
about that.
that sounds familiar.
Anyway, he put this together, and I mean, part of it's to promote his group of artists that are
Right,
part of the studio.
right.
But you know, he loves comics, and he wanted to get a show going, and he got a bunch of people interested and sponsored, and it was held at, curiously enough, at the event center at the place that I work.
Yeah.
It's the place that I have a company lunch every Friday, so it's kind of weird to go to that event in that place. But you know what? It was really cool mostly because I found some books that I've been wanting, and so I was able to buy those. But more importantly, I actually got to talk to Tim Seeley,
Yeah. See,
who was there.
that was why I was gonna go. I was like, oh, I really kind of want to go to talk with him and get some books signed and whatnot, but then I decided against it. I didn't want to go and be disappointed. Wasn't that horrible?
Well, okay, yeah, okay. So yes, I had that same exact thought, especially since they charge $20 for it's a one-day event, $20.
Right.
Yeah, that's a little much. But as you can see over my shoulder, right over there, I'm not
Yeah.
very good at this backward stuff.
Yeah.
That is a print that Tim Seeley did of from Revival.
M.
Yes, M.
Hmm.
And anyway, he remembered that you and I did that episode talking about Revival.
What?
Yeah,
Really? Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So, well, I was wearing my this sounds silly. I was wearing my Long Box Review T-shirt that I had made
Right on.
uh, when I went to Emerald City last year.
Yeah.
So I was wearing that, kind of promoting the show as best I can. I'm not in anybody's face about it. I don't go up to them with a microphone and say, "Hey, talk to me about your book." I don't do that kind of crap.
Right.
Not yet, anyway. But when I was wearing the shirt, he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And so he gave me that. He just signed it and gave it to me as a thank you.
Nice.
So it was really cool. I really like that.
Sure.
Anyway, but while I was there, besides those great things, I found an artist who did these little prints, and I bought a couple of them. I got 2 for my granddaughters, Madison and Gabriella. There was a My Little Pony print that he did that was really cute, so I gave that to Gabby. And Madison loves Batgirl, and so he had a really cool Batgirl print, and I tweeted that so people can check that out. But anyway, there was another print there, Travis, and I saw that, and I thought I have to get this for my friend, my co-host, because he did this artist. His name is Jacob Bear. Jacob Bear. Put 2 B's together. That's a good way to say it. Um, he melded these 2 characters together, Travis, and I know they are some of your favorite characters, so I had to get this. So let me show that to you.
Uh-huh.
Here we are. It is Spidey Lantern, right?
Oh my
Right.
God.
So you're very Spider-Man. I know is a longtime favorite of yours,
Oh yes.
and I know that Green Lantern is one of your most favorite characters in
Without a
DC, right?
doubt. Without a doubt.
Right? Am I right? Come on.
Oh no, not the slightest.
Oh,
But
oh wait, it's Green Arrow, right?
yeah.
Oops,
Yeah.
oops, my
Oops.
bad, my bad.
Yeah.
This is for
Very
you, buddy.
nice.
It's pretty cool.
Very
I
nice.
mean, granted, it's Green Lantern. I know you're not a big fan of him, but it's a pretty good picture. And for those who can't see it, you'll have to watch the video.
Yeah, that's
If
funny.
you're listening to the audio version of this that I'll release in the podcast feed. But it's really cool. He did a pretty good job, and he signed it for you. So there you go.
Sweet.
It's yours.
Nice.
It's suitable for framing, Travis.
For
You can
framing.
put it up in your office at your work.
Oh, there you go. That'll be nice. Oh, that's funny. I have a question about that con. Was it very busy? Were there lots of people there?
You know what? There were about 2,000. There's about 2,000 people altogether, according to the newspaper. So,
Well, that's
and,
decent
and
size, all things
uh,
considered.
for a first con, $20 a head. Yeah, that was. I was really surprised, really, really surprised that there were that many people there, and how busy it was. I got there about 10:30. It started at 10, and there weren't that many people there, but maybe 50 or so people
Hmm.
that were there, and then about an hour later, within an hour, I'll say that, within an hour, there were quite a few more people, maybe twice as many from when I first got there, and I would leave. I went to have lunch. I came back. I kind of did that a little bit. There was one point when I was there, I was leaving to go to the car to drop off some stuff, and I was going to come right back. Anyway, one of the local radio stations was here, covering it, promoting it, and as I was walking out the door, I heard the guy say, and he was live on air, talking about how the lines were out the door for people to get into the con, and I was walking out the door at that time. There were no lines, but it was nice of them to kind of
To
hype it up a
lie?
bit.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. I
Well,
don't know. Does that make you want to go to something if the lines are out the door? To me, that's like, ooh, I don't
I
want to
know.
go now because there's lines out the door. But awesome, great promoters.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So enough about the PaloozaCon. Let's get into the meat of the episode, the best of 2013 according to us. And I also got some responses from a couple people, so
Right on.
I'll be reading those as we go. Let me hold on a second. Let me get these in a place where I can reach them, which I should have done before I pressed the start button on this. Oh well. All right, here we go. So Travis, let's we'll go back and forth. I'll start with this category, and then you'll go, and so we'll go back and forth. How about that? And as people may remember from previous best of episodes, I don't like to choose just one thing. So
Can't commit. Can't commit.
I will. I know. I committed to my wife, and that's the extent of my commitment. Anyway, so I have a hard time choosing one thing. So I have actually an honorable mention for each category, and maybe even more than one honorable mention. So, and you know what? It was really hard to pick some of these categories. Did you find that as well?
Yeah. Yeah, matter of fact, some of them I didn't pick until about probably an hour or so ago. So there you go.
I was up till 11:30 last night, and I was still changing things, Travis.
Yeah.
I thought I had it locked in, and I'm going through my list, making printing things out and getting everything organized, pulling books out so I can show them on the video feed. And I'm going, oh, no, I need to change this. So yeah. Oh, and before we get started, we have a few viewers here. Welcome, viewers. Glad you could join us. If you have comments or want to throw in your nominees for these categories, feel free to do so. We'll try to get to those as we can. But let's get started, Travis. So why don't you start us off with the first category, which is limited series, the best limited series that you read this last year.
Best limited series. It's not done yet, but that would be The Wake. The Wake is my favorite limited series. Just love at least the first half of it. We've gotten the first half of the story. I love the idea of it. I love the how well the art is in it, how oppressive it feels. I mean, you really, I mean, because most of it's underwater. You feel like you're underwater. You feel, I don't, to me anyway, I feel claustrophobic when I'm reading the book. It captures that very well. It's got the suspense and horror of, kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing movie, kind of a feel to it. I love the characterization of the characters that are in it. I love there's as they're trying to understand what is actually going on with them. There's one of the characters that's there is a guy who's an expert in mythology that has to do with the oceans and stuff like that, and they mix in all this kind of quasi mythology that's actually out there and throw it in the book and then give it some reality to it. And the combination of all those things just for me, has made it just a really amazing book. I'm so excited for us to jump into the second half of it because there's all this little other intriguing stuff that goes on too. So that's
I've actually been enjoying that one myself. What do you think of the split between? I mean, remember, I think it was the first issue where I think it actually opened with this where we're in the future,
right?
And then, and then we go back into the past, which was the bulk of the first half of the story, I believe.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And now, when it comes back,
it's the future,
or is it out already?
No.
Is that next issue? Because they took a break.
Right.
It's not
coming out soon. It's not out yet.
Okay.
It's coming out very soon.
Yeah. So, but they're going to flash forward to that future again, right? As I understand it. So, how are you looking forward to that aspect of the story, or do you want more of the past that we've seen already?
I don't think we can have any more of the past we've seen already. That seemed pretty finite. That really bad stuff happens there at the end of that. So I'm looking forward to the future thing because I'm just curious to see how it all ties together. Because I'm assuming that the actions that happen in the present set in place what's going to happen in the future, the stuff we're going to be getting. So I'm curious to see how those ramifications work and whatnot, how that all played out. I mean, because the future story, the bits and pieces that we've seen of the future, it's like the oceans have taken over the cities and whatnot, it looks like. So, what happened to make all that? And they're just throughout the whole first half of this, there's all these little weird things that show. I think it was like issue 3, we get these couple panels of like Mars, just a picture of Mars, the planet. Why? Why is that there? I'm curious to have all that stuff answered. Then we had some of those bizarre scenes with that we assume are set back in, I don't know, caveman times, for lack of any other terminology for it. And bizarre stuff happens there with like those people were out on the plains and they have like a huge like laser cannon or something. They obliterate a whole other group of people. So all those weird things, I assume, will get tied up in some fashion in this second half. So, and I feel like Scott Snyder does a good job of doing that sort of thing, giving us all these little bits and pieces, and then being able at some point put it all together to show us this larger picture. So I'm excited for that. I really, really enjoyed this, but it felt like it ended. I mean, those people that we had in that first half of the series, what happens to them at the end seems pretty finite. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next of that is.
And remind me, who's the artist on that?
Murphy. Sean Murphy.
Sean Murphy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who I love.
Yeah. Did you have any secondary nominees for this, or did you just keep it to one?
That was my solid. That's my solid choice as far as limited series. There's another one that just ended, and I actually have it in my pile for something else. But Marvel Knights, Spider-Man, another limited series. Really, 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 really enjoyed it. The art in it by Mark Rudio is just absolutely bananas. It is so cool. It is so not a Marvel style of book. The way the panels are laid out and portrayed, that I know I just said something you're going to jump me on about the Marvel style. But anyway, it isn't. It feels so much like a Vertigo book or something like that. It feels so much like an independent book. It's just really dynamic and was great fun. that would be probably my second choice if I was gonna pick a second choice as far as that goes. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
far as just
Yeah.
off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank on other limited series. I mean, I know I picked up a bunch of them, but I can think of more ones that I don't like than I can ones that I liked. I guess. So,
Yeah, yeah. I actually pre-ordered that the trade of that Marvel Knights Spider-Man based on
uh,
your recommendation, Travis. So, okay, let's see. Let's my pick for best limited series or favorite limited series. That's kind of how I'm thinking about this. Was The Answer by Dennis Hopeless and Mike
mm,
Norton, and this was a 4-issue miniseries from Dark Horse. And it was well, it was really striking the cover to that. Oh, let me show that. Really striking the cover because you get this guy all dressed in black and white, and he's got an exclamation point on his head or his face, right?
mm-hmm.
And then you have, but this is the real star of the show. This is Devon from the comic, and she's the real star because the guy in the costume, he's trying to help her, but he often gets killed during the course of the story, multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Which that was interesting, and they didn't really answer that. What the answer was all about, because the story was about Devon and her involvement with this book of magic, for lack of a better phrase, right? It was just really surprising and really entertaining, and that's my best limited series or favorite limited series. I do want to, my honorable mention for this was Mara by Brian
Oh.
Wood
Oh yeah.
and
Excellent. Excellent.
Ming Doyle.
Mm. That was a great series.
Yeah. Oh, and again, very surprising because I'm not the biggest Brian Wood fan out there,
Right. Right.
but I got it anyway because I heard some buzz about it. The guy at the comic book shop in Spokane recommended it as well, and so I picked it up off the shelf there and read it, and I was really intrigued with the whole politics of superheroics and sports and the fanaticism surrounding sports figures and what that all meant. And for me, it was 6 issues, and for me, it felt like the story was just getting started.
Yeah.
That, in other words, this could have been an ongoing, and I would have been happy to keep purchasing it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that Brian Wood and Ming Doyle come back and do a part 2 or season 2 or whatever the hell they're calling these sequels these days.
Well, and they definitely was left in a position where they could do that. The way that series ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's like I said, I got a couple responses from people because I put a call out to my podcast listeners and also on my YouTube channel for people to send in their nominations. And I'm not seeing any comments, live comments right now, Travis. So if you see anything, let me know. But let's see. There are the two. We have Damien who is Sleepy Reader 666 on YouTube,
Sweet.
and his favorite limited series is Trillium, and that's by I forget
Jeff Lemire.
now.
Jeff Lemire.
Thank you. For some reason in my head, I get Jeff Lemire and Matt Kint mixed up.
Oh.
I know
Well, I can see.
a lot
I
of
can
people are
see
going to
that.
go, "You
No,
idiot!"
no, I can see that.
Yeah. Are you getting
They're-
that, Travis? I think you are.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I decided to wait on that one. See what the buzz was about, and maybe get the trade. But because I'm not the biggest Jeff Lemire fan.
Oh, okay.
Art-wise, I like his writing. I don't
Right.
care so much for his art. And then I hope I'm saying this right, Matthias Lava, who also commented on via YouTube.
Oh.
Also limited series Trillium.
It's a good series.
There you go. So 2 people, well, now 3 people I know through feedback or you are reading that. So I guess I should just buy the trade no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. If you do buy the trade, I want to have a conversation with you about it because I'm really fascinated to see what that book ends up being like in trade.
Well, yeah, isn't it a flip book?
The first issue was a pure flip book. Other issues have used other visual tricks. where like one issue you literally read the top half of the entire book, and then you turn it over and read back the direction on the bottom half upside down because it's telling the other part of the story. Because the story is about two people in particular, and when they're separated, they do visual tricks to separate that. The
Hmm.
latest issue that just came out this last week was a bit frustrating, personally. It reached a point of, where I was questioning how I'm supposed to be reading the book because it just kind of every panel you had to turn the damn book. So um,
Oh.
that in that last little bit there, it became a gimmick. It felt like on the hangout that I was on earlier in the week, we were talking about it, and it was kind of the consensus amongst us that were reading it that it had been fine up until that point, but in this latest issue, that page turning got to the point where it felt more like a gimmick than a part of the story. But so I'm really curious to see how it is worked out in trade.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I
That,
am
that,
too.
that you won't be reading the trade, and like halfway through the trade, you won't be like pitched off in some other direction, and you won't know where to go in the book, kind of a thing. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Maybe they won't trade it.
Oh,
Could you imagine? Could you
yes,
imagine them not doing that?
especially the Vertigo book. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I still think as a large part, that's how Vertigo's sales are based more on the trades than they are on the singles. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
Certainly, historically, it has been that
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
I'm just curious to see if they chop all those panels up and rearrange them and put them in an order that
Hmm.
is different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Next category, favorite artist, which is always really difficult for me. A favorite artist, and we have a becoming favorite writer. Oh man. And
yeah,
it's you know what? And it's not. This is where I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit because while I say it's my favorite right now for the stuff that I read during the last year. And that's not to say that there weren't, other fantastic artists. There are. This is comic books. It's a visual medium. We read the
yeah.
words on the page, but it's really the pictures that tell the tale, right? Or help tell the tale at the very
Hmm.
least. And so, like I said, I chose an artist. Actually, it's a pairing based on how much I enjoyed the work they did on this particular title, and I'll explain why in a minute. But my choice for favorite artist, like I said, it's a pairing. It's Jamie McKelvey and Mike Norton for Young Avengers.
Mm.
And okay, so why? I think that as I understand it, Jamie McKelvey did a lot of the characters and the foreground stuff, and Mike Norton came in and did background
Hmm.
material.
Hmm.
But you thinking back on it, and what I did not do is go back and read every issue of the series before I started this. But from what I remember, uh, the you can't really tell who's doing what. It seems really seamless in the artistic style between the two, which I really appreciated. And whoops, and I forgot to point out my books here. So there's a cover to Young Avengers #1, and also the covers are really interesting too of this book. Really visually striking, and
Hmm.
and I thought that was a good touch. But mostly I liked Jamie McKelvey's really clean line work
Hmm.
throughout the thing. Everybody had a distinctive look, and it was just really enjoyable to read. And they did some really interesting work with white space, not so much panels, but white space on the page, which is not really done a lot in comic books. I mean, you get some interesting panel arrangements. Um, or if you need to flip the book around to do interesting things too, you got that in some other books, but not too many times do you have just these pictures on the page are just kind of floating there, and there's all this white space behind them.
Hmm.
And I remember there was a few issues where they did that. So it was again visually striking in the work that I saw in the 14, 15 issues of Young Avengers
15.
that came out.
15.
15, yeah. Although some of that towards the end was done by some other artists, so it
Hmm.
wasn't just McKelvey and Norton doing the whole run from issue 1. But anyway, so that's my choice. Honorable mention. This is a book that only has, I think, 3 issues out right now, or will have 3 issues out very soon. Anyway, it came out late 2013. This is Velvet. This is Steve Epting's work on Velvet.
Mm.
So here's the cover to number 1. And that's Velvet Templeton on the cover there. Epting did some really cool atmospheric work on this. So you get, it's a spy book, and it's basically what if Moneypenny was a spy and out there trying to figure out who killed James Bond, essentially.
Mm.
So that's kind of the pitch of it. But it's really good. It's kind of dark. It's atmospheric. It's kind of noirish with it's not a modern feel because it's actually set in the 1970s. But it's a really
Wow.
I'm really enjoying the book. But I've seen Steve Epting's work in other areas as well, or other books as well, and he's a solid artist. So,
Hmm.
what about you?
Um, geez, art is one of those things that for me, it's always hard in one sense. Just the fact is there's so many different styles, and those styles lend to different books, depending on what it is. Where I may not look at something and say it's the most beautiful art, but the style matches up for whatever is being told in a great way or whatnot. That being said, what do you think my guess is going to be? What did I say last year? What was my answer last year? Do you remember what my answer was last year?
I don't actually.
My
I
answer
could guess, but
my answer last year was J.H. Williams, and the conversation went something along the
right.
lines of, as long as J.H. Williams is doing some sort of art, J.H. Williams is going to be
Yeah.
the person I pick, and J.H. Williams is still going to be J.H. Williams III is still going to be the person I pick. He didn't do as much art this year. It was a large chunk of the Batwoman run that while he was still on the book. The art was done by other people, but he did the covers. The covers were all outstanding. The first issue of Sandman that he did was, just incredible. Sandman comic book has never looked so good. So I'm still standing by that as long as J.H. Williams and Dave Stewart doing the coloring on his work. If they're doing something, I just can't envision that something else for me visually is going to beat out his work. So that's my number one pick.
Yeah. Not surprising.
Yeah, other people that I like a lot due to their craftsmanship and the way they do. Big fan of Patrick Gleason, who does the artwork on most of Batman and Robin, or Batman and whatever you want to call it. I love his storytelling. His storytelling is very, very good. I get a lot out of his work. He's allowed to do a lot of storytelling where there is no dialogue, there is no words on the page, and it's still very easy to understand what's trying to be conveyed to me. So that's probably another one of my top picks. And then there's a ton of people. Fiona Staples continues to be excellent on Saga, and stuff like that. So, but J.H. Williams III still is head and shoulders above the rest as far as I'm concerned, as far as awesome artist.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And you mentioned Fiona Staples as well, and I actually had her down as my favorite artist. But I chose her last year, so I was trying to. And this is not to say that their work is any less in 2013, but I kind of wanted to spotlight some other people that I've not, I guess, talked about before or chosen before in these best of episodes. And it's not that I'm just choosing them because. I really like their work, and especially for the stuff they did in 2013. But yeah, all good artists that we were talking about here.
Yeah. And there's a lot. That's the thing, is there's just so many.
Okay, so we have Damien and Matthias's choices here. Yes. So Damien chose Francisco Francavilla.
Oh, nice.
And you're quite familiar with his work.
Yes.
And Matthias's was Nick Dragotta. He mentioned East of West in particular, and and that's a book I get, and it is. It's quite a striking and visually interesting book. So yeah.
Hmm.
Francavilla, I think the last thing I read of his was the Black Beetle
Yeah.
miniseries,
Um,
which was fine work.
hmm Well, he's also got Afterlife of Archie is pretty big with a lot of the guys right now, and he does the artwork for it.
He does the interiors for that.
Yes,
I knew it. No,
it's all him. Yeah, I didn't think it was either
oh,
originally, but oh yeah, and I'm not an Archie person at all, but I read Damien Sleepy Eater 66. I read his first issue of Afterlife of Archie, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, it would be a book to
I've
get.
been hearing. Yeah, I've been hearing excellent things about that series. So, and I think it's recently been upgraded to an ongoing.
Mm,
And I was going to get the trade
yeah,
because I've been hearing
because
interesting,
yeah,
cool things
and
about it.
yeah, Francavilla does the artwork inside of it, and his atmosphere. He has a way of creating a certain type of atmosphere. It's just very great for that kind of zombie horror kind of a thing. The colors that he uses, and the way he inks. He uses those oranges and purples and umber colors and whatnot. It's a cool book. It's a cool book. That's the main thing. I mean, he does lots of covers, obviously, and stuff like that, which are always great. But that's the other main work. I can't think of anything else that he's been. He'll do an issue here and there, but that he's been working on
Mhm.
solidly this year. But yeah,
Yeah, I knew he was doing covers for Afterlife with Archie, but I did not realize he was doing the
yeah,
interiors. So
yeah,
that's a really, you're right. That's an excellent matchup between story and artist.
yeah.
We have a comment here from Carlos Infante regarding Trillium. Trillium seems to be not written for the trade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because of the
I
because
think
of the flipping. Yeah,
based on your description, yeah, I think that will not work very well. So yeah, like you, I'm really curious how that's going to work.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay. Who's next? Single issue. So best. This is you, Travis. You start that. I'm getting
Best,
already mixed up in as to who's
yes,
doing what.
best single issue. I am going to say best single issue for me was Batman and Robin issue 18, the Requiem issue, which I was
Yeah.
pretty perturbed with most of the Requiem issues. It didn't really feel like it really felt like much of a Requiem with Damien having been killed and stuff. This is one of the issues I was talking about with Patrick Gleason and his art and being allowed to just tell a story purely by art. There's no words to this whole thing, but no Robin, but you get to experience some of Batman, some of Bruce Wayne's anguish over the death of Damian, and there are just lots and lots of panels in this that just feel so right. You could just feel him pissed off, and him taking a Batmobile and smashing the hell out of a power pole with it just because he's pissed, punching the dashboard and stuff, that this horrible stuff has happened. Really, this is probably off. I don't really pick favorites. This is probably my favorite comic book of the year.
Hmm.
I mean, really, really is. Um, I can't think of anything else that there are bits and pieces in comics that hold the same impact, but as far as an entire comic, this comic probably holds a larger impact than any other comic this year for me. Just really, really great book. That's my pick for single issue of the year.
And excuse me. And I should have mentioned that the single issue is of a title, an ongoing series or any series really, a one shot or even a trade. So it wasn't just an ongoing single issue that we would choose from.
Mhm.
That's an excellent choice, Travis, and that's actually my honorable mention.
Yeah.
This is one of those categories where I was flip flopping all the time, back and forth, but I chose it for something else coming up. So I'll talk about this more in depth coming up here in a bit. Did you have any other choices?
Um, I really liked the first issue of Black Science. It's really new. I mean, it just came out, 2 months ago or something like that. I loved how dynamic it was. I love that it was just way out there. I mean, the frog people and the fish people and the pyramids on top of turtles. It was just really visually stimulating, and it had some moments in it that I thought were really interesting. Gave some interesting character beats. You have this character who we get some impression that he's morally ambiguous in some ways, but then he makes some choices to save some people that there's no reason that he should be doing that, because I mean he's in a dire straits himself, but stops and takes the time to rescue somebody who seems to be enslaved. A very very good way of Rick Remender um, giving us insight into the complexities of the character without having to literally spell it out to us. And I appreciated that. Really had me hooked for the first issue because of that. I was like, okay, this this character's a lot to him. There's going to be a lot of depth to the character and whatnot, which made me excited on a first issue to get that much told to me in a subtle way. So that first issue was pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we need to get together and talk about Black Science more in depth, I think,
Okay,
in a future episode.
I can do that.
Okay, my choice. So I already told you my honorable mention,
Yeah.
which is the same as your best. But my choice for best single issue of the year is Thor: God of Thunder #12
Ah.
by Jason Aaron and Nick Klein, I think is his name, is the artist. Nick Klein, yeah. This is also Damien's choice for
Thor.
best single issue or favorite single issue. And okay, so why Thor #12? So if you're not reading Thor: God of Thunder, Jason Aaron has this brilliant story involving Thor, starting out the first 11-ish issues regarding this god killer,
Hmm.
and I can't remember the character's name now.
Gore isn't like Gore or something
But
like that.
Gore, yeah, that's right. Yeah, on the nose a little too much on that name. Anyway, so there's this alien creature who goes to war on all gods because his gods forsook him and his people, and he amasses all this power, goes after the gods. Thor's one of them. It involves multiple timelines in Thor's life, which was really a really cool story. But anyway, all that led up to this single issue, #12, which is an afterwards of sorts, if you will, to that story, because he's all done with the anguish and the oh man, what am I trying to say here? Conflict with Gore and everything that goes along with it, and then you get this really quiet moment. I mean, there's stuff going on in the issue, of course, but these really, and it's actually it's a bunch of quiet moments. Thor visits this orphanage. He goes to this bar that he frequents. I think it's called Simonson's, which I thought was pretty cool. Or I might be mixing that up. Anyway, but the meat of the story for me, and my family history. They're one of the characters, Jane. What's her last name?
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
No.
Some comic book aficionados we are. But the character of Jane from the Thor stories, they were an item. But she's since moved on in this continuity. She has a boyfriend now, and she has cancer.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, these really quiet moments. The Thor, God of Thunder, who survived almost being killed in 3 different timelines by Gore, has to deal with something that he cannot smash with his hammer, or otherwise vanquish in his usual way, right?
Right.
It's cancer, and he tries to convince Jane, let me. There's magic out there. I'm sure I can find something that will do. And she's like, no, this is the natural order of things. I'm battling it on my terms. Don't do this. And it was a really touching issue. Lots of emotion in there, lots of feels, as they say on the kids on the internets like to say. It really touched me in a way a comic rarely does. Now, the Batman and Robin issue also did that for me, but like I
Hmm.
said, I'll talk about that later. But excellent issue. Like I said, Damian chose it as his favorite single issue, and Matthias chose a trade, and it's Storm Dogs Volume One.
Mm.
I'm not familiar with it. I think I've heard the title, but I'm not familiar with it. But he says it's excellent sci-fi with a mixture of Blade Runner and CSI.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't look up who that is by, so I
It's
apologize
it's
about
it's
that.
an image book. I know that. I'm pretty sure it's an image book. I believe it was one of those ones I was thinking about picking up and then didn't, but keep meaning to go back and hunt down a
I
trade
know.
of because it sounds kind of
Yeah.
cool. I mean,
Don't you hate that? There's so many damn good books out there, and just not enough money for me anyway.
yeah, yeah. Money and time.
Well, I have time. I just the money. All right. Let's move on. What are we on here? Favorite writer. Here we go.
Yes, Eric. Who's your favorite writer?
Favorite writer. All right.
Oh dear.
Well, the writing for me is always I won't say more important, but it's certainly a big part of why I enjoy the comics. So I
Yeah.
tend to look at the writers in I don't want to say more favorable light. It's not that. It's just that I gravitate more towards the writing aspects of comics than I do the art.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of favorite writers, and this was particularly hard for me to narrow down. But I chose for my favorite writer this year, Peter Tomasi, for his work on the Batman and Robin title.
Mm.
Uh, in particular, the issues 17 through 23 were just freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would use another word, but I'm trying to keep this family friendly. Just and like you said for number issue 18,
Hmm.
that was just incredible. But how Peter Tomasi, and of course, I mean Patrick Gleason is a storyteller too here, but
Hmm.
I tend to think that the writer is coming up with a lot of the main ideas of the story that we're reading.
Sure.
If that's not correct, I want to give the artist a certain amount of credit for the impact these stories had on me as well.
Right.
But I'm going to just say Tomasi in this case for this particular category, just how he rendered Batman and all the other characters. Dick Grayson too. There was an issue where he came in to help deal with the death of Damian, and just Alfred. I remember there's a couple issues there where Alfred just
Oh,
the
yeah.
looks on his face, so this is the artist here where I'm crediting just the looks on his face as he deals with the anguish, the despair of this young boy's death. Really, really touched me, and so it was really really powerful, emotional work that Peter Tomasi has put out in the last year, and I'll go even further. I think I talked about Tomasi, in the previous years that we've done this, but ever since he's been on Batman and Robin, it's been slightly underrated, I think,
Oh, I think
in
so.
terms of how popular or how good a book it actually is.
Mhm.
And I'm really glad that I have been reading that from the beginning by this guy, by that artist, by that team, because it's one of the best books that DC's putting out, and still is,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned. Even though Damien's gone.
For now.
Okay, so yeah, for now, 10 years later, Um, honorable mention, and like I said, I flip flop on this. Honorable mention, I chose Jonathan Hickman this year because he is putting out a lot of books that I really enjoy.
Mm.
He's on Avengers. He's on New Avengers, which I absolutely love. I think that's the better book of any Avengers book out there. He was the main writer for the Infinity event that they did, which you could kind of look at that as just another Avengers miniseries, but it was good. He does East of West, which is, like I said, I think who was it, Matthias that chose that?
Mhm.
Yeah, for the artist. That's a really interesting book.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. Manhattan Projects, which that's crazy. That book is crazy. Crazy ideas in that thing. It's really really a fun read. And so I mean, just by the sheer bulk of work, I put him as an honorable mention. Before we get to your choices, Travis, John DaCosta is on. He said hello. Hi, John.
Hey, John.
Okay, what about you? What did you choose for your favorite writer for 2013?
I actually picked Tomasi also for basically
Nice.
for basically the same reason. I mean, the book has always been great, and like you were saying, this. I mean, to some degree, I want to say kudos to DC for allowing him to be the one that kind of addresses the emotional fallout of Bruce and Batman to a degree, dealing with the loss of Damian and all the other people. Really, I mean, most of it has been addressed in this book, and it's been done so well. I mean, he does such a great job of hitting emotional beats. Well, even before Damian was dead, he did such a great job of hitting emotional beats that other books aren't doing, and I've been really really enjoying that. And even after the Requiem stuff, when we ventured off into Batman and whatever they want to call it, depending on who else is in it, he's just done a really really excellent job. I mean, so that's probably I think has been I think it's the best Bat book that's being produced, and
Hmm.
you're really really enjoying it. I mean, a lot. I mean, it's he's captured something. He's captured something, and I hope that team continues to operate on that book for a long time, for as long as they can manage to scrape it together to keep making something happen. I'm in because it's been great. As
What,
far as okay,
what are they up to? Issue 27 that's out? 28?
28 plus an annual.
Yeah, and still going strong with the same
Yeah,
creative team.
yeah. They still got stuff to say. I'm excited now because moving forward, once they're done with this Two Face arc that's going on right now, they're going after the people who stole Damien's body. I mean,
Hmm.
Batman's basically drawn a line and said, "Look, I got to deal with this Two Face thing. As soon as this Two Face thing is done with, I'm going after the people who took my kid." So
Yeah,
that's
and,
going to
and
be.
he's teaming up with Wonder Woman, which I'm really looking forward to
Well,
that.
I'm curious to see if that's going to be a team up or if that's going to be a throwdown
Well, yeah, but
because he's venturing off into all these islands. I mean, that's why he runs into Aquaman, which I'm curious to see how that's all going to play out because I always felt
mhm,
like the two of them don't necessarily get along anyway because they're kind of the same in a lot of ways. They're both in
aristocratic.
charge. Yeah, oh yeah. So that'll be really interesting. And
Yeah.
if he shows up on Paradise Island, what the hell does that mean? He's a guy. He's a
Uh-huh.
dude.
Uh-huh.
That's unacceptable. So that'll be. I'll be really curious. I'm really curious to see if how Tomasi writes Wonder Woman. How that gets addressed. That'll be. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the next stage for Bruce, the next stage for Batman.
Hmm.
You already killed my kid, and now you're screwing with me by digging him up, and he's told Alfred don't fill those holes in, you know. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see where that's going to go, and I'm excited to see that this is the writer that's going to be telling that because I think it's going to be good because of that. So
Hmm. Yeah.
for me, as far
So,
as secondary writers, man, I think Brian K. Vaughan is still just absolutely killing it on Saga. Um,
yes.
I think that Scott Snyder is still doing great. Is still doing great work. I know some people aren't so excited with the 0 year stuff. I still think there's some great stuff going on in that. I really love the Wake. I think that the delivery of the first half of the Wake was intense. And I don't think you can. I don't think you write that type of comic better than what that comic was. So yeah, but I'm like you. I tend to focus on writing more than art. For me, art has a lot larger leeway than writing does. I guess as far as when the comic comes out, what with art, what may not be considered beautiful art still can be very good art to tell the story and do sequential art the way it needs to be done and be excellent. But good writing has to be good writing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well said. Let's see. So Damien chose Brian K. Vaughan for
Mm.
favorite writer. And I agree. I agree with both of you. Brian K. Vaughan has always been one of my very favorites as well. You know, I've read several of his series. I have many of them in trade, and they're all fantastic. And Saga is one of those as well.
Yeah.
And Matthias chose Rick Remender for Uncanny Avengers and Black Science.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Remender's
I'm
not
really,
been one of my favorites, but the work on Black Science may be changing that opinion. I
yeah.
definitely did not like Uncanny Avengers.
I've really, to tell you the truth, I've not read any Rick Remender, I don't think, really, until Captain America. I jumped on Captain America because people were talking about it being kind of a sci-fi kind of a thing when it first started out, this run of Captain America, and I thought, well, I'm not, I've never envisioned myself being a Captain America fan, but I'll curiosity, I'll pick up a few issues he was. Really dug it, and have really, really enjoyed that. Not enjoying the latest arc quite as much, but that may be enough of a fan to kind of check out what else is going on. Black Science, I think, like I said, that first issue, actually every issue I've read so far has been excellent. I don't know if you've read Deadly Class yet, or did you get that? I don't know,
No.
but I love it too. So I'm thinking, I'm pretty. I mean, right now I'm at a point where if Rick Remender is putting something out, Low is going to be coming out some point this next year, I believe, another book of his. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it because so far, at least the stuff that he's been allowed to be kind of fringe with or whatever, I've enjoyed. So I'm kind of on board the Rick Remender wagon right now, I guess.
Well, I listen to a lot of comic book podcasts, and I hear a lot of people talking about Rick Remender's work on Uncanny Avengers after that first arc. I hope I'm getting this right. They're basically saying after that first arc with the Red Skull that it basically turned into Rick Remender's continuation of X-Force. I think that's the right title.
Yeah.
I hope it is. And they're saying if you liked his previous volume of X-Force, then you're gonna love what he's doing in Uncanny Avengers. So, but I never read it, so I have no idea how to base that or how to take that.
Right.
Okay. Shoot. Did you start this last one or did I? I'm really on top of it here. You can tell, right?
Let's see.
I start a writer. Your cover.
Yes.
Cover.
Okay, so I'm cover. So best cover of the year. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to give you best cover that never actually showed up.
What?
Is what I'm going with. Yeah.
Cheater.
Yeah. Here, give me a second. I'm going to see if I can get screen share to work here on. This should have been the cover to Batwoman issue 26. Is what this should have been. Is what this should have been the cover to. And let's see if I can. I'm going to attempt to see if I can go screen share here and show it. Is that showing up?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, so it basically for the listening viewers, it is what should have been the cover to, I believe, 26 or 27, but it is Mr. Bones smoking a cigar, and he's large in the picture. It's mostly predominantly him, so the picture's mostly black. His skull head, and he's wearing this great thin black tie, and the black tie actually has an image of Batwoman in it, kind of running down the tie. And I just think it's an absolutely incredible image. And that would have been the cover of the year, I think, if it would have actually made it out. I actually ordered the T-shirt of it because they were going to make T-shirts of it, and then they canceled the T-shirts.
Oh, that sucks.
Well, it's just one more dig, Not only did they not let those guys finish that story that they were writing after they decided they were going to quit, just to further give us a kick, they canceled the shirt too, because that would have been an awesome shirt. But anyway, that's my pick for cover.
You're right. That would have been an awesome shirt.
Yes, it would have been. Covers are so hard. Man, there's lots and lots of great covers out there. So that's why I went with that one, because it doesn't exist.
Do you have a choice for a cover that actually did get printed?
No, I don't.
That's great. Okay. Um, all right. Well, okay. So now you got me all discombobulated,
I know, I
Travis.
cheated. I know.
That was great. That was great. Okay, so here's my. Okay, and you're right. Cover is one of those really hard ones because and time consuming because like I said, I had almost 1,000 different books to go through, right? And I looked at nearly all of them.
Oh man.
Uh, Online resources are great, but even before I got into looking at all the covers, and as I was looking through all the covers, one kept coming up in my mind over and over again, and maybe this might be even a criticism on how these choices are made in my mind, because it's kind of like the Oscars. There's that criticism that the movies that get chosen for Oscar awards tend to be the ones that are recently released, and so I kind of worry about that with this episode or these best of episodes, because it's those things that you just read
What's fresh
that
in
are
your mind?
forefront in your mind. Exactly. But you and I talked about this series just recently, so that that's the connection there. So here's my choice.
Which revival cover? Yeah, oh yeah, that's a great one.
So this is Revival, issue number 6. And this is by Jenny Frison, and it shows M from the issue. It's again for the listeners out there, not the viewing audience. If you haven't seen this, it's fantastic. It's basically a two-tone, well, really three-tone cover, mostly kind of grayish tones and the red, but it's her stitching up her hoodie that shows up, and she's also got scars all across her body, but it's that face,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that look on her face. Oh my God,
that she gets every once in a while in the comic too, where she just gets that kind of, where she suddenly has this kind of, like, she just totally goes crazy. I mean, she doesn't do anything crazy, but she just has these occasional psychotic moments where you're just like going, what the hell is going to happen? And yeah, that covers. There's a lot of those Jenny Frison covers for Revival that are just incredible. I love the trade cover for that first trade, where it's this kind of farm scene, and it's kind of a silhouette of her hanging onto the sickle from the first issue. But yeah, she does a lot of great covers, and that is an excellent cover. I remember when that came out, and it was like, oh, that's.
She did.
Go ahead.
She did a lot of the Buffy covers as well, I think, that were just visually striking. Very very good artwork. But yeah, that Revival was good. I chose honorable mentions here as well. Remember these, Travis? Fearless Defenders.
Oh, those were fun. Those were just really great concepts. Yeah.
Whoops, there you go. So so what I'm showing here are the covers to Fearless Defenders number 2 and number 4 in particular. And so you got these are by where are my notes? Mark Brooks, I think. Yes, Mark Brooks. And so number 2 has, it's kind of like, so the cover is emulating like an action figure in on one side, and the background art on another, but it's the cover to the book. And then number 4 is the paper doll. Valkyrie.
Her changing costumes.
Yeah.
The old costume, new costume.
It's lovely looking art. I mean, he draws these characters really well. But just the creativity there. These are again visually striking on the stands. If you're going to go into a shop and you see those, it's like, wow.
Yeah, just about every issue of Fearless Defenders was that way. All of them were kind of a gag of some sort or other, where it was a spoof on romance novels, or the arcade games, or break dancers, or whatever it was. They all had a spoof, which was fun. It made it fun. It made it fun to want to pick up the book and look at it. So, which is obviously a good sign of a good cover. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention anything that Adam Hughes did for Fairest, which is a title I get. He does really really beautiful work.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. Let's see. Who did Damien and Matthias choose, or who? What did they choose? Let's see. Damien chose the cover to FF number 13.
I
I'm
wish I.
sure he means FF, not Fantastic Four. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
And Matthias chose Pretty Deadly number 1.
Oh, very nice.
You're looking up the FF number 13. That's got to be
Yeah.
an all red cover, right?
It is. It is. Um, it's always hard to look for because you get all the Final Fantasy stuff at the same time. So
Do FF13 all red.
yeah, I did. And it's still not. It's not being friendly.
Oh,
So
all right.
sorry. I'm not going to pull that out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Look
I
it
think
up.
what it is. I think what it is. I think it's definitely a Mike Allred cover. I think it's like a. I think I want to say it's like purple, and it's got like a spiral cascading down, and they're kind of falling down into that. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Well, all red's a great
I'm
artist
trying.
anyway. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. Let's go to new character. And that's. I'll start this one. Um, wow. This I don't know that I'll repeat this category next year, Travis.
Please don't. Please don't. I almost sent you an email saying, "What the hell are you thinking?"
I just I wanted to try a few different categories, and
Sure.
this is one of them. Um, Actually, and this might be the only one. No, there was another one in there I threw in. Anyway, okay, so this was really hard too because how many new characters are introduced in comics over the year, and again, it was really favored by the comics that I read more recently,
Uh-huh.
and not just comics that I read more recently, but also comics that I recently reviewed, like the run of. So some of these nominations are informed by that as well. But this is one of those that definitely was favored because I read this more recently. And so I chose favorite new character of 2013 is Forever Carlyle from
Oh
Lazarus.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's I the last podcast I did with guest host Peter Rios, we discussed Lazarus, the 5 issues that are out that were out at that time.
Hmm.
We talked about those and talked about that world and the characters, and it's just just like we talked about with Revival, it's such a rich world that was created.
Hmm.
And Lazarus is very similar in the sense that it's just there's just so much stuff to it, and at the centerpiece is this character Forever Carlyle, who is the Lazarus for the family, Carlyle, in this book, and she's just really interesting. She, on the surface, she comes across in some ways as she interacts with people as very cool and collected. And she is an assassin. She's also an envoy. She's also a diplomat for the family. Whatever basically her daddy sends her out to do, she does.
Hmm.
But she's developing a conscience with the things that she has to do that she finds questionable, and it's going to be that development of the character that's going to be really rich and rewarding for the readers. So that's my choice. I also chose as an honorable mention Velvet Templeton from Velvet. Again, because it's a newer book, and it's like, oh, this is such a good comic. I
Yeah.
really I'm really getting into those newer stuff, the newer stuff that's come out in the latter half of 2013.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm gonna make some comments after I'm done listing off some of the people because that's what's for me. It's like, okay, first off, it's like there isn't much. I mean, you think about a lot of the comics you read, they're long running, so there's not new people in those things. I started coming up with ideas. This is one of the hardest ones for me to come up with. Is like, man, who's my favorite new character? Um, I think I'm gonna go with Susie from Sex Criminals.
Ah,
is one of the main characters in there. I love her character. I love the way she's written. The first issue of Sex Criminals, you get her great take on um, coming across her sexuality and the other problem that she has. You know, with the fact that,
problem? It's a problem?
well, I don't know. At that age, when you're the first times, yes, that would be a problem. But you're right that of course that she stops time, and so and her dealing with that, and then her response to this new guy that's in her life is I think really interesting and really fascinating. I mean, um, it's kind of dumb love, and I love how Fraction writes her experiencing this dumb love. I mean, she shakes her head lots of times about the guy that she's with, but at the same time, it works. Um, they write lots of the book gets written through her kind of viewpoint of things, and I just love her imagination as she's kind of fictionalizing why stuff's happening the way it is, and it's just kind of so it makes her for me it makes her kind of a charming character, and I really enjoy her for that. Um, a secondary character I want to pick is I'm going to pick Eve from Coffin Hill.
Oh, oh, she was on my list.
Yeah, there's another character I really like. I know some people weren't as excited by the first issue of the comic, but I've
What?
really been, yeah, but I've really
Crazy,
been enjoying.
crazy talk.
Okay, well, some people thought it was a little too complicated. There was too much. It was too fractured.
Oh,
But
okay.
but I really like the character. I like how complex she's ended up being. That I love the dynamic of her. She lived this life as a teen, and she'd really like to forget it. Move on to something else. But obviously, she can't quite figure out how to do that. And because of the damage that she's taken, she's had to go back home. And now she's back home, and she's basically having to answer for a lot of or face the consequences of a lot of the sins that she committed when she was a kid. Whether those be magical and mythical, or whether they just be socially some of the stuff that she did that now she's having to answer to. I think that makes her really interesting because it makes her much more complex than just being a monster buster or just a witch or whatever. She's got all this other baggage, and that's what makes the character really interesting and whatnot. And so, yeah, I really love it. And the thing I want to comment on is I think it's interesting that you named off two ladies. I named off two ladies. And I could probably name three or four more ladies. And I just think it's really interesting that right now, those, as a general rule, those are the characters that interest me. Those are the characters that right now seem to be written, with the exception of which I drawn a blank on his name, like I guess we call him the main character of Black Science, the main scientist. He's interesting because he has this kind of moral ambiguity about some of the stuff that he does that makes him interesting to me. But it's a lot of these ladies right now, and I just think that's fascinating that these are right now are the characters that I seem to be the most interested in as far as new people go. Why do you think that is?
Why we chose female characters?
Yeah, is there more of a focus on? Are there more people trying to write those kinds of books?
Well, it certainly seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it
Especially
does.
here later in the year. Let me just quickly tell you, Damien chose a new character. Matthias didn't send me one, but Damien chose, and again, a female character. It's the new Red Tornado / Lois Lane from Earth 2.
Oh yeah.
So
That's gonna be an interesting character. I'm really
yeah,
looking forward to how that unfolds.
yeah. So I don't know. I've always been drawn more towards the female characters in any kind of fiction that
Yeah.
I take in. Whether it's movies, TV, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe male characters are boring. I,
So yeah, this is something about us, huh? Okay.
let's see. Well,
Our,
yeah,
our,
guys are boring and dumb and stupid. Says the guy who has has a daughter who's dating someone.
yeah. There you go. Oh, that's funny.
All right. Okay. Shall we go on? Or
Sure.
do you want to talk about the female
No, I
in
just think
this
it's no.
part of it?
We'll talk about it sometime. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. And I thought of that too, because as I'm going through my list, I'm finding, I mentioned before at limited series, Devin as the lead of that comic,
Mhm.
um, Velvet and Forever and
Yeah.
M from Revival. Just all these female characters are coming up and these choices. So
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what
and I,
that means,
yeah, and I was
but
digging, yeah, and I was digging through some of my new books, and I came across, you know, Federal Bureau of Physics, Collider. I really like that book. They've just introduced a new character in that a couple issues ago, who is a female character, who is now my favorite character in the book, just because she's got, you know, so much going on and whatnot with her that. So I just think it's interesting. Yeah.
hmm hmm
Right.
okay. Favorite moment?
Well, that's me, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Favorite moment. See, this year it isn't as it's not quite as hell yeah as last year. Last year it was really easy with the Wonder Woman moment. It was really easy to pick that
Yeah.
out as being the thing. There were quite a few great moments in some books and whatnot, but the one I'm gonna go with Six Gun, and this is out of issue number 33. I don't know how many people out there are familiar with the Six Gun or reading it up to date and whatnot. In this, one of the main characters, Becky, she's kind of been trapped in the spirit world, or not spirit world, I want to call it the dream world. Basically, she's gone on a Native American journey, and she's walking the dreams, and she's kind of lost her path and is going through all kinds of turmoils and whatnot. And there is, at the very end of this, she's stuck with, basically she's stuck in the home of people that are her like worst enemies, basically, and things aren't going well. She's acting really tough, but she's in really bad shape. And there's skinwalkers that are out to kill her, and they invade this dream that she's currently having to kill her, and they're attacking the other people that are in the dream, not just her. And she basically, she's in an argument with General Hume, which is like her worst enemy. The two of them fight over the gun, the six gun. She has the six gun now, but in the dream, General Hume has it. She snatches the gun from him and gathers up all of his generals to go out and fight the skinwalkers that are attacking and that are attempting to kill him. And it's the final page, which is now on my list of things to get as far as original art goes. This final page of her basically, snatching up the gun. She's dressed in this awesome red dress there, and which is kind of unlike Becky at this point. I mean, because she's pretty, wears pants and is rumble tumble and is pretty tough lady. And she says, "Me and your boys are going to go out and greet these guys." And that page and I'm like, yeah, because I literally like where Becky's going. Becky would be one of those characters that, if you're just picking favorite characters, would be on my high on my list of favorite characters.
Yeah.
Her development through this entire series has just been really interesting, and where she's at right now. But that's my moment for last year. Just her picking that gun up, and she's going to go out and give it to these other guys, these skinwalkers that are out to get her and whatnot. It was a pretty exciting moment. So
For a second there, I thought you were going to choose that, where she's still doing that, the spirit walk or whatever you want to call it, and she comes across herself with her
that's
family,
that's a great moment too.
and who she ends up with, as far as I'm guessing her husband. I don't know if they're actually married, but yeah, that whole sequence was really really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else? Any other moment you want to mention?
No. Well, the whole basically whole. I really like the scene where Batman smashes the hell out of the light pole with the Batmobile. I don't know why that appeals to me.
Again, from Batman and Robin 18.
Yeah, I mean, I just in my head I can envision him swearing a whole bunch and just, I'm gonna f up this, this light. I mean, I don't know. There's something about that appeals to me. The reaction to that. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
There are a
since
lot
we're
of
talking
moments
about
anyway.
it, my best moment is
Yeah.
Batman and Robin number 18. I'm choosing the whole
Television.
damn comic
Yeah.
for best moment, because oh my god, this whole thing told in silence. There's no dialogue, there's no captions. It's just the story being told by the pictures, and it's just everything about it is just phenomenal. The anguish, like I said, Bruce is going out, and so this happens after Damien is dead, and he's just starting to deal with that grief and how that affects him, and he keeps seeing Damien. So he goes down, he slides down the bat pole, which is that hokey thing from the TV series, but they
Right.
incorporated it in. But he looks over as he's going down, and he sees Damien sliding down with him, and Damien's smiling, and he gets down the bottom, and there's blood running down the pole that Damien was sliding down in his vision, and just the look on his face, and here. You mentioned that page from Six Gun. I wouldn't mind getting this page here, this splash
Hmm.
page
Yeah.
of Bruce and Damien going out there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And there's the scene, that lonesome scene, that light pole you mentioned.
Oh,
Here's
yeah.
Batman atop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the loneliness, the despair, conveyed by that picture, and I of course I'm putting a lot into it, just from my, you talk about reader intent in a book. There's a lot of that in here, because
Mhm.
you're just given the pictures, but they're so artfully done by Gleason and Mick Gray here,
Yeah.
that there's no mistaking what Bruce is going through in this whole thing. And and there's that two-page splash or two-page spread that you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Where
There
he
you go.
takes out that light pole. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and then you get another great. And some people might think that this is kind of a ripoff because it's a
No.
lot of black on those two pages, and then you get the reactions of all the people he's taken down that night. But thematically, it's a wonderful piece of art to convey what he's doing, what he's trying to accomplish. And then end of the issue, he gets back home, and he's taking his shower, and he's just his head, Batman's head is down a lot in this. He's just
Hmm.
dealing with the grief, and which is really really unusual for Batman, right? He's usually portrayed as this really stoic and um, with it, as far as Batman can be with it, right?
Right. Right.
But then he gets down to the shower, and he's in the Bat locker room, and he finds a note left for him by Damien. So it's the last thing that Damien is communicating to him.
Hmm.
And let's see, because it will be hard for me to. I'm going to just read this. It will be hard for me to say these words face to face. I want you to know that Mother may have given me life, but you taught me how to live it, or how to live. Love and respect, your son Damien. And then you get the panel at the bottom there where it's across the page, and it's just Bruce's eyes, and they're just dark.
Uh-huh.
It's just
Yeah.
great, a
Wow.
great image. And then what happens? Batman goes berserk and destroys the locker room. He just starts punching everything, and throwing everything around. Damien's dog Titus is hiding in the shadows nearby, and then I'm gonna get choked up here. You get
Yeah.
that scene where Bruce is hugging Damien's costume, his Robin costume.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
phenomenal stuff. And partly the reason why I wore my my Robin shirt today to commemorate that. It was just
Yeah.
awesome issue. And probably should be my favorite single issue of the year. But the whole thing with Thor and cancer, that's it's hard to beat cancer.
Yeah.
in my mind. Anyway, okay. So that's my favorite moment, and I just chose the one. Let's see here. What do we have here for a favorite moment? Okay, Damien has a favorite moment from Clone number 13, and I asked him about this. He just put Clone number 13, but I asked him, and he said where the hero is being tortured for his sperm, which automatically makes me want to read this issue. So,
Oh man.
well done, Damien.
Oh, no kidding.
What the hell is that
Really?
all about?
Really?
And I don't no, I don't have one from Matthias. All right, here we go. So this is kind of like the best picture nomination, but I didn't want to put this at the end. Because there's some other things I want to talk about. This favorite ongoing is but my choice for this was really informed because I did this. It's not out yet. It'll be out after this episode, but I did a talk of the entire run through issue 22 of my favorite ongoing of the year, Rachel Rising. So I'll be releasing those episodes where I talked with again Peter Rios about this series, this great series by Terry Moore. Those episodes will be out after this best of episode is released. And it's just I read through them all in preparation for that talk with Peter, and it was just an amazing to revisit. It was amazing to revisit though that story from beginning to end. And here we have a great writer artist in Terry Moore doing it, and it's just a great series. You and I talked about the whole Save Rachel Rising thing a couple episodes ago, or one or two ago, I can't remember now. Anyway, and I wouldn't necessarily do that, except it's a phenomenal book. It's an amazing story, and we're coming up to the end of basically the first arc, which it'll take 24 issues to finish that. And I love a slow burn. I love a long form story. And we're getting a fantastic one in Rachel Rising. So that's my choice for ongoing. I do have several honorable mentions because there were so many good books that I've read over the last year. Thor: God of Thunder is one. I've enjoyed that from beginning to end, where we're at, where it ended at 2013, but it's still a really good series. Young Avengers, that whole run, those 15 issues, I really enjoyed that. Revival, we've talked about that before. Lazarus, Velvet, I'm enjoying the hell out of those. And Coffin Hill, which I really wanted to mention that because that's my new favorite series right now.
Is it?
I love that book. Issue 3, we're up to issue 3, right? On that, I think.
I think so.
I think I've read up to issue 3, and yeah, oh gosh, I'm blanking on who's the darn, I don't have it. Nope, I don't have it one pulled out. I can't remember. Caitlin Kittredge.
Caitlin Kittredge, yeah. Kittredge, that's the writer.
Yeah, and Inaki
Miranda.
Yeah. Miranda, thank you. Wow. What they've been doing in that book, like you talked about a little bit about it not too long ago, but just amazing storytelling techniques there, I think, and interesting characters. It's an interesting situation. Oh, it's now that I think about it, it just occurred to me, Travis. In Rachel Rising and Coffin Hill, you've got the whole supernatural spell witch connection, I guess, if you will.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I had people say
gravitate towards that.
Yeah, I had people comment about Rachel Rising when Coffin Hill came out that there were some similarities.
I would say only in the kind of setting, the supernatural witch kind of setting,
right?
And the fact that the lead characters are female. Other than that, I would say that they're pretty different stories, and told very differently, artistically and from the writing aspect. So you would get something different out of each title. So if you're thinking you only need to read one supernatural / witch story, you could get things out of both of these comics. So you should check them out. Oh, and this is my favorite cover from the run of Rachel Rising. This is from number 11, and that is not Rachel. That is another character, but I love the pencil work that Terry Moore put into the headshot of this, and then you have the red and yellow colors in the background. That's really striking, and of course you have that copperhead snake coming out of her mouth, which apparently I like because I chose. So on the blog, every week I put out, a new Comics Wednesday post, and I choose my favorite cover for that week. And
Hmm.
one of those covers was from Six Gun, where there's a snake coming out of a character's
And you don't
mouth.
like snakes. What's up with that?
I know I hate snakes, hate them, but for some reason, snakes on a cover does something
Yeah.
for me.
Okay. Uh, that's
Ah, okay. What
that's
about you?
funny.
What's your favorite ongoing?
Saga. I mean, some people will say, well, that's an easy pick. Those who like Saga will say that's an easy pick. Those who don't will, go, I don't know what your
Yep.
problem is.
Yeah.
Um, I, I love, I love the book. And I heard some criticism over it. Felt like a few of these issues lately haven't been going anywhere. And I guess my response is, I don't care if the book goes anywhere. The dialogue between these people, the conversations, the reactions, and that is all feels so real. I just can't describe enough how real it feels to me, that not that I have these exact conversations, obviously, but just the way they're delivered, um, is just amazing. And some of that's that's as much the art as it is the writing, um, of how these characters respond to the situations that are around them. And you know how do you respond to having to deal with your mother-in-law that kind of hates your whole race, and just all the different stuff that's involved. I mean, they play board games, and the issue they play in the board game, and the whole stuff that's going on during the board game, that's real. That's, to me, that feels like real life. Simply, the characters don't just play the board game and that's it. There's all this other subtextual dialogue that's going on around getting a job and all this other stuff, that while the board game's going on and stuff. And it's just all that kind of stuff, to me, it just makes it just an amazing book. I mean, regardless of the extreme situation that's happening. And there's all these different parts of the story that just seem really cool. I'm just as interested in how messed up Prince Four is and all of his stuff as I am the supposed main characters and their kind of you know love child and all of the craziness that goes on with it. Of course, it's getting ready. It's on another break now, which stinks. That's the one thing that's frustrating about the book, is these long breaks. But I understand the long breaks. I know when they're coming. They're scheduled, so it's not the end of the world kind of a thing. And I know that the creators need, obviously, vacations and time to catch up and all that kind of stuff. And so I'd rather have that than have something crappy turned out in between. But just an amazing book. I absolutely love it for the characters and
Yeah.
them just sitting around talking, whether anything's really going on or not. But have you read the latest issue?
Yeah, I totally agree. Which issue is that?
The final, well, the final issue.
I'm remember
Yeah, no, 18, I think it is.
I'm
This
behind
issue.
you.
Do you have this issue? The lion cat on the cover?
Yes. Yeah. Well, is that the one where they play the board game, or is that the
No,
previous issue?
no, no. This is way after that. This is the most current issue. Never mind. I won't talk to you about
Okay.
that then. I'll talk to you like
All
off
right.
air or something. No, the way this arc ends sets up very big, potentially different things coming forward.
Okay, then I haven't read it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming. I'll get it next as we record this. It's February 9th, 2014, and I'll get my comics, that particular comic, next week.
Okay.
But yeah, you're totally right. Saga is fantastic. It's written by Brian K. Vaughan, always a great writer, always tells a great story. Fiona Staples, awesome artist, and they again, I keep coming back to this. We talked about the revival. I talked about it with
Mhm.
Lazarus, or in regards to Lazarus, and then these other comics that are my favorites right now. Just the rich worlds that these guys are creating,
Yeah.
the characters. I mean, what you're responding to in Saga is just how great these characters really are.
Mhm.
And even though the plot may not be moving forward, what we're getting are these character moments, which to me are much more important than moving the plot forward in a story.
Right.
The characters define what the story is supposed to be about, or drives the story in any case. So it's a fantastic series, and yes, I didn't mention it as one of my favorites, but it always is because it's such a great comic and done by great creators.
Hmm.
All right. Any other choices?
Wonder Woman would be my second choice. I love the Wonder Woman book. I think that
Yeah.
it's it and Batman and Robin are um, I think DC's gems and have been from the launch of the New 52. I think those two books are their most solid books in my opinion. They seem to be able to operate, you know,
Yeah.
under their own motion and whatnot. Wonder Woman's got its own thing going on. It's interesting. They continue to put enough dynamics in it to make it seem like there's something else, interesting going on. One of the latest issues, there were moments in it that I just thought were absolutely great that make it a richer comic than just being another superhero comic that's out there. There's a point in one of the latest issues with Hera who has been made mortal. She's been mortal for a while now, but she gets left alone, all by herself, which she never really has been since she's been made mortal. And Wonder Woman comes back, and she's kind of basically freaked out in the corner, and is you can feel between the artist and the writer, you can feel this feeling of sudden terror and dread over the idea that I don't know what to do with myself. I was happy when I was Hera, when I was when I was a goddess, being a Mount Lewis and have time to myself was great. But suddenly now having time to herself, you figure she can ponder mortality and growing old and getting ugly, all that stuff that she's never had to. You can see that in like 4 panels, and to me that makes a book magic when you can have those little moments. And so I'm really thrilled with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Also, one of my favorite titles to read every month is Wonder Woman. So yeah. Just real quick, Sherpa Knot says, "Hey guys." Hi, Sherpa Knot.
Howdy.
That was a few minutes ago. I'm Travis. Are you getting any comments besides what that which I have already pointed out?
Nope. And the way this is
Okay.
feeding, the way this is feeding right now is sometimes the comments show up and then they disappear again. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, see that? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, and they seem to be really slow. So I apologize to anybody who's watching this live, and if you got stuff that you're putting in there and we're not responding, it's because we haven't seen it yet. But please continue to do so, and we'll get to it as they show up. Hopefully
Yep.
they'll show up. Let's see.
What did Damien and have for?
Ongoing. Okay. Damien also agrees with you in that Wonder Woman is his favorite, or one of his favorites anyway.
Mhm.
And and Matthias chose Saga.
There you go. See,
Like-minded
obviously,
people.
obviously good
But
books.
but
When you get,
great. Yeah, you guys have great taste.
yeah, it's a consensus. We know.
Yes. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's move on to the other categories. These are not necessarily favorite or best of, but just some things I wanted to throw in. And let's see. Oh yeah, you're going first on this one. This is most missed. So something that you missed in 2013.
Um,
Was this a hard one?
well, I've got all kinds of smart ass answers, but um, my first inclination is to say Batwoman,
Mm,
even though I know it's not canceled. It is
right.
radically,
But that Batwoman.
it is radically different. I have hopes that it'll pick itself up by the bootstraps and become something of its own, but that's my first indication is I'm still mourning those creators and what they were trying to do with that book. Um,
Mm,
so that's a big one. I'm bummed that Young Avengers is gone. So bummed about that. I understand why it is, but I didn't want it to end. So I thought it
yeah.
should have kept. I thought it should have kept going. Um, I'm already lamenting Animal Man. It's not technically gone yet, but I'm already lamenting it going because I know it's going, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are the main ones.
Okay. I chose a book that came out earlier in 2013. It's one of my favorites from before. Danger Club. This is
Mm.
issue number 5. This is by Walker, Jones, and Drake, and this unfortunately this title has been beset by some issues involving one of the creators as far as a health scare uh,
Mm.
involving his child, I believe. Anyway, it's just I really dug this comic. You know, the first 5 issues were spectacular, and like I said, this one issue, number 5, came out early in 2013, and I just want more of it. And I'm really afraid that all this how long it's taken the issues to come out, especially between 4 and 5, and now we've had nothing the rest of the year. You know, I'm assuming it's more or less canceled. As far as I know, they've not announced that the title is gone, but you know, how many people are going to pick up, you know, issue 6 of a title that hasn't come out, you know, except for one issue a year
Right.
in the year. But I'm still rooting for it. It's still one of my favorite comics. You know, it's about for anybody who hasn't heard about it. There's a trade out of the first 4 issues, I think it is. But it's about a bunch of teen superheroes or teen sidekicks that deal with the fact that their mentors, the adult heroes, are all gone, and the thing, you know, the fallout of that. And there's this one guy who basically tries to take over the world, and they have to stop him. And it's just really entertaining. It's kind of violent. It's a little bloody in some regards, but you know, it's still an entertaining read, and it really speaks to my love of you know, the sidekick heroes. You know, I'm a huge fan of New Teen Titans and Legion of Superheroes, so that whole subgenre of comics. So I really liked it. So I'm really sad that I don't get to read any more anytime soon. Let's see. I don't know. Most missed. Most missed. Nope. I got nothing from our submitters on
Okay.
those. So the next one is sleeper / surprise hit. And okay, so there were a lot of surprises though, especially like at the end of the year. How, you know, I already mentioned some of my favorites that kind of they came out towards the end of the year, and I guess you could kind of consider them surprise hits, you know, because going into them, I'm like, this sounds interesting, but then I'm surprised at my reaction in terms of how much I really enjoy those titles. But what I chose was this far out, wacky title, Nowhere Men,
Mm.
by
Yeah.
Eric Stevenson and Nate Bellegarde. Yeah. So technically, number 1 came out, I think, in 2012, but I read all of the issues that have come out in 2013. So, you know, it's one of those titles where it's like, ooh, that sounds interesting, but you know, I didn't have enough money at the time, or you know, it didn't quite grab me as much as something else, and so I skipped out on it. But then, as soon as issue 1 hit, and I started hearing the buzz, and I saw the I think it was issue 2 or 3 was out by that time. You know, and people were talking about it, and I see the covers, and I'm hearing, you know, I'm reading stuff about it. I'm like, oh my God, I missed out. I need to go get these, and I did. I went and got them all and read them all this year. And it's just like I said, it's like it's a sci-fi industrial. You know, there's a company involved with these characters, and they were like the Beatles of the science world.
Yeah. Science is the new rock and roll is the
Would you
tagline.
agree with that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
science is the new rock
They're
and
the
roll. That's right.
they're the Fab
Yeah,
Four. I mean, no doubt.
yeah, yeah. But they're scientists, you know, and they come up with these wacky ideas, and they're trying to change the world and make it better, or you know, or some of them don't always have altruistic intense, but the character interactions between the characters, and a lot of stuff is told in flashback, and you get what's going on now, and then there's something happened on the space station that involves these guys, and how the characters on the space station have been affected and transformed, and you have mock interviews as if these characters were real in our world. They'd be interviewed
Right.
by Rolling Stone or whatever.
Right.
What else? Oh, you have company logos just printed on the page.
Right.
Giving
Advertisements and
you
stuff.
a back. Yeah, advertisements. You get a world backstory from these little elements that Bellegarde's throwing in, and Stevenson. It's just, again, I keep coming back to this phrase, but it's such a rich world that they've created, and there's so much they can do with this. It just surprised the hell out of me how much I enjoy this, based on the fact that I passed it up initially.
Yeah, that's a great series. I didn't pass it up. I was on board. I was on board with the tagline. As soon as I heard the tagline,
Yeah.
"Science is the new rock and roll," I was like, "Oh, I'm in for a few issues just to see what that is." I love the production of that book because it's literally cover to back. You open up most comic books and the inside of the cover is an ad or it's a splash page, or no, not this. This is literally panels right off the bat. So
Hmm.
rumor has it that I've heard from people I talked to via the internet is that book is done. It's canceled.
No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I'm still looking for some other place that tells me that, but they say that their comic book guy is a big fan, and their comic book guy said that it was canceled. So I don't know. I'm trying to find it.
Oh,
Trying to find it.
that's
Trying to
disheartening.
find it. I know. I'm trying to find it in writing somewhere, but yeah, that'll be a
Yeah,
bummer if that's the
yeah.
case.
Wait, is Stevenson or oh gosh, what's the artist's name? Bellegarde? Are they on Twitter? Maybe we should just ask them.
Uh, I see Bellegarde, the artist. He's on Twitter occasionally in kind of a weird fashion. I had him sign some books for me at Emerald City Comic Con last year. He's an interesting cat. Um,
Yeah.
but Stevenson, he's like some VP or something with Image, isn't he? I mean, I think his day job is he's some other production person there at Image Comics, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I hope his duties there aren't pulling him away from this book, because this has been a fun ride.
yeah, yeah, it's been cool. So hopefully that's not the case. Like I said, I'll find out at some point whether or not that's accurate or not, and how sad I'll be afterwards.
Hmm.
It'll be my 2014
Yeah.
sad moment.
Most missed.
Yes.
All right. Hey, we have a comment here before we get to your choice. This is from Sherpanaut again.
Ah,
Have you guys read the solicitations for The Bunker coming out next week by Oni Press? Sounds really interesting. It will be the first Oni Press book that I buy. Yes, Sherpanaut. I pre-ordered that because
Same here.
that book sounded really, really cool.
Yeah. It was a digital comic first, right? The first issue, wasn't it produced
I think so.
digitally?
Yeah.
I've been wanting to read something else of Joshua Fail Malkoff. I'm not saying his name right.
Oh,
The
Yalcott.
writer. I've been wanting to read some else of his since I Vampire. So no, it sounded cool. So
Hmm.
definitely definitely getting it. And Oni Press is a great small comic book company. They produce quality stuff. So
Well, they put out Six Gun, right?
right. Hmm.
Yeah. So there you go, Sherpanaut. You should be reading Six Gun from Oni Press.
Get it in trades.
All right, Travis. Yeah, exactly. What's your choice for sleeper surprise hit, Travis?
And this is just a surprise to me, not like it's like something that people slept on and whatever. And it's a repeat of something I've already talked about. It's Marvel Knights Spider-Man. Yeah, I picked it up thinking, well, it's going to be, I'm going to get a little bit of a Spider-Man story. It's just like, I kind of like the idea. The pitch kind of was, we're going to take some, I don't know if fringe is the right word to use, some alternative writers and artists that typically wouldn't be put on this style of a book, but we're going to let them write a, do a Spider-Man book or a Hulk book or an X-Men book, which I'm getting all of them and I'm liking them all. But the Spider-Man one, um, and the title basically is 99 problems, but kind of a thing. And it's Parker. It's good old Parker being Peter Parker, and he's down on his luck because being an Avenger doesn't make him any money. So being a superhero doesn't make any money. So he gets a job, takes a job as a photographer because the Bugle is tired of seeing pictures of Spider-Man, so he's got to find something else to do to make some money. So he's going to go to this house and take pictures of this family. Gets in the house, and the house is all crazy bonkers. It's a giant death trap of some sort. And he spends the entire 5 issues basically being stretched to his limit, being attacked by every third-rate Spider-Man villain you could possibly think of, from the Rhino, from the Spot, from everybody, the Owl. They all come after him at some point or another in the book, and it's just him, Frankenstein's monster. It's just him basically bouncing from one crazy thing to the next thing. He's drugged, his spider senses aren't working right, he ends up in a submarine, he ends up on an airplane, just all kinds of crazy bonkers things happen to him, which is just nuts. But the big draw for me is the art. The art in it is just amazing. I mean, the paneling is just bonkers. It is a multiple of styles of let's see here. This is him sitting at a dining room table, and he has been attacked. And I don't know if this shows up on camera very well, but it's this spiraling effect of a whole bunch of villains that he's fighting. It's super busy. When you first look at it, you go, oh my God, there's just too much going on there. But then no, your eye starts in one corner, and you just kind of whirl your way around down through this stuff that's happening. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, the artwork has a multiple styles to it, depending on what they want to portray.
I like
that. And it feels like some old school Vertigo book. And I was just really thrilled and really surprised that it was just out here, because I didn't expect, I expected to get a fun Spider-Man story, but I didn't expect it to just be so visually stimulating on how far out there it is. So,
remind me, who's the artist on that?
That is Mark Rudy, who did artwork for Animal Man or Swamp Thing, one of the two. He was one of the fill-in artists there, which he was just fine there.
Okay, that
here,
makes sense.
Right,
yeah.
but here, they just went, hey, let's just go crazy, kind of a thing. I don't know. Matt Kent's the one that writes it. I don't know how much his inspiration was to say, hey, make crazy, whatever, because I know Matt Kent will do some visually different stuff and whatnot, because he's an artist too. But yeah, it's just wow. It's a wow book as far as visually. The story ends up being fine. It's not like at the end you're just like, woo, totally blown away. But it works. But visually, the book is just incredible.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it now that I've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah, so that was my surprise.
Let's
just
see.
Because,
so,
like I said, that's my surprise, just because I wasn't expecting to get that from and this is going to sound bad, from a Marvel book. I was expecting a more standard affair. I was expecting a more standard affair. And to be truthful, if a DC put out a book like that, I'd be the same way. It's just like, I'm used to anyway, the big two, they have their standards. Most things fit within that. There are some things that flirt being a little bit different, but most things, stay within a tight kind of a thing. And this is just outside of the box by a long ways. So.
Okay. Let's see. Our friends chose, for Sleeper Hit, Damien chose Red Lanterns.
Yeah. Charles Soule.
And is that who's writing it now?
Yeah. Everybody I know is jumping on that book because Charles Soule's on it. And right now, Charles Soule seems to be like magic. So, with all 19 or 400 books that he's writing, or whatever, how many books he's writing.
Yeah, exactly. Huh. Wow, I just kind of I've basically forgot about or ignored that book since the first 6 issues that I read from Milligan.
Yeah.
And then Matthias chose Clone. So here we got, Damien chose Clone earlier for the favorite moment, but Matthias chose Clone for the Sleeper Surprise Hit. That's by David Schulner and Juan Jose Rip, and that's from Image Comics.
And those are the two guys I know
So,
that read that book.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't know anybody
maybe
else who
something we
reads it.
should check out.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
All right. Next up is Canceled Before Its Time.
I kind of already named those, didn't I? And that falls into my
Yeah.
most missed category. It's kind of all the same lumped in there. You know, um, it's once again I would say Batwoman, but you know, I think it's a shame that I said for me the big focus is I think it's a shame that um, Young Avengers is gone. I really wish that they would have found somebody else to pick it up and do something else with it, but or more so, I wish that the creators who were on the book would have had more desire to write more stuff because that's the reason the book's canceled is because they were done and they decided that there wasn't other things they wanted to tell. So maybe because they've got other books they want to do, I understand that, but they should cater to me. So
Okay. Well, I chose that as well. Young
yeah,
Avengers is my
yeah,
choice for Cancel Before Its Time. So whether or not it's their choice or Marvel wanted to go in a different direction and they didn't want
yeah,
to do it, or I don't know what the deal is, but I'm gonna miss that title and it should. I would not. I don't think I'd necessarily want it to continue without McKelvey and Gillen
mm,
working on it. You
yeah,
know what their collaborative process on that
yeah,
book, and Norton, of course, their collaborative process on that book is what made it so charming to me. And
yeah.
I don't know that I would want to see anybody else do it. I
I
really wanted
agree.
to see what the next story arc by them featuring those characters would have been.
Yeah, because after I was done reading it and kind of looked back on it, it was like it was a it was a Kid Loki centric book, right? And it felt
Somewhat,
to me
yeah.
like a lot so. Kid Loki and or Wiccan, right? There are a lot of other
Hmm.
characters that you see moments of, and I'm like, oh, I really like that character. And then suddenly we find out it's going to be done. It's like, but you just barely scratch the surface on Miss America. I love Miss America. I
Yeah.
love that character. I had no clue who the hell she was until I read this, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not going to get to see. And she had some great moments right up until the end. I'm not going to get to
Yeah.
see the stories that I want to see of this character. It made the
Yeah.
final issues. I liked the final issues, but it made them bittersweet too. It was like,
Hmm.
you're denying me these things that I should have.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. And you said you mentioned Miss America. I really wanted to choose her as new character, but she actually appeared in 2011
right, she was in a
first.
earlier version of the book, right? Yeah.
Well, and also there was a one shot something from
Oh,
Marvel that she first appeared in, and then she
oh,
was in the other book. But yeah,
yeah,
I loved her. She was awesome. And you're absolutely right. They only just started to scratch the surface on some of these characters, and it's a pity that we don't get more of them
yeah.
or more about them from the
Right,
creators. So
right.
yeah, I also chose as an honorable mention Legends of the Dark Knight, the digital first, then to print series. Now they're doing these 100-page super spectaculars. They've done one. There's another coming out, I think, or maybe it's already out and I haven't got it yet.
Hmm.
But but the monthly collection of those digital firsts are done. They solicited a final issue not too long ago, and for a while there, that was the best Batman book on the shelf, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was really good.
And even at the end, there were some really interesting stories that were being told that I'd never seen before featuring Batman. So I was sad to see that go. All right, anything else from you on that, Travis?
Nope.
Cancel Before Its Time. Damien chose X-Men Legacy.
Hmm.
And I'm not familiar enough with the X-Men books to know what that is exactly. I've heard of it, of course, but
It has most to do with
is it?
Legend, the character Legend.
You mean Legion? Is it
Legion,
Legion?
Legion. I mean, I'm sorry, Legion. Yeah,
Okay.
has most to do with that character. I don't
Okay,
know the
that's what I was
specifics, but
thinking.
I I know plenty of people on Twitter and my neck of the YouTube land that were big fans of the book.
hmm hmm Yeah, I've heard from other people that it was good, but I don't read a lot of X-Men stuff. So, all right, final category, best of 2013, most anticipated for 2014. Let's see. Is that me?
My simple answer is Image.
Ah, okay, very good.
I mean, there's just a
Well,
laundry
that's
list,
funny
right?
because yeah, well, it's funny because I chose a book coming out from Image
Yeah.
as my most anticipated, and
Yeah.
that is McGillen and McKelvey's Wicked and Divine.
Mm,
I'm really looking forward to that book.
yeah.
So, coming out probably this summer, I think is the last thing that I read. So we have that to look forward to. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we talked about this on a previous podcast episode, the announcements coming out of Image, but there's a lot of good stuff coming our
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also chose.
I'm actually
Go
kind
ahead.
of excited. I'm actually kind of excited for April too. I'm really curious to see what's going to be coming out. Like we know that DC's shifting a bunch of books during that time. I'm curious to see what comes out of that. Um, I'm still excited for Moon Knight from Marvel
Mm,
to come out. I'm curious to see Warren Ellis come back to actually writing some comics. See if he's been away long enough to have a fresh look on something to do something with and whatnot. So I like that character. It looks like they're kind of taking him in a little bit of a different way. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens with that. I was trying to think. There was like another Marvel book or two that were coming out that was Hulk, She-Hulk. I'm looking forward to seeing She-Hulk, what they do with She-Hulk. So
you're interested in some Marvel books, Travis?
yeah, I know, and he got it on a record.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
I chose as an honorable mention, and who knows if this is going to ever come out now, but I'm still looking forward to Grant Morrison's Multiversity from DC, if
uh,
they ever get around to it.
I don't see that happening.
But our yeah, I'm yeah. Anyway, so I'm really okay. Anyway, our friends chose. We talked about Image being most anticipated. They chose one book each from Image Comics. Damien chose Eight House,
Mm,
and Matthias chose Low, that we
yeah,
talked about earlier.
the Remender book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And H House is a book that's what it's mostly it's Brandon Graham, yeah, Brandon Graham's world. It's kind of a sci-fi fantasy world, and he's inviting other creators into that world to dabble in it along with him. It sounds like, so that
Mm.
could be interesting. Like I said, that laundry list at the last Image Expo that they put out of books that are potentially coming out this year. I mean, there's very few of them that aren't on my list to try out. So,
Mm.
gonna be another exciting
Yeah,
year
I'm
for
gonna have
them.
a hard time. I'm gonna have a hard time buying some of these because that's a lot of books, along
It's
with
like
everything else that I read.
start mowing lawns, get that extra money in.
Doing a paper route.
That's right.
Yeah. My kids don't need to eat that much, right?
No, they're small. They can stay that way.
That's right. All right, there you go, everyone. That is our answers to our favorite stuff from 2013, our best of episode. Thank you so much for everybody who was watching and are still watching. That there's some people have come and gone, but and also very much appreciate Damien and Matthias for sending me their nominations to these categories, and as well as the people who have commented during the last 2-ish hours that we've been talking about these things. Travis, thank you so much for joining me yet again. So this is like the third time we've done this best of thing.
Hmm.
I always look forward to hearing what your choices are because Travis and I don't tell each other what our choices are until we get on the air and talk about them.
Right.
So it's always a pleasure to talk to my good friend and to hear his thoughts on these things. It's one of the joys of the comic book community, whether it's on YouTube or through podcasts or at your local comic shop, whatever, to talk to other people and find out what they like and why they like it, and for you to do the same and get people interested in things that you like and vice versa. So it's the reason I do this podcast to communicate that stuff and to have people communicate to me, what they're liking, and who knows, I'll pretty much be up for anything to try out if enough people tell me, hey, you should check this out. And like I said, it's just something I love about this community. I love comic
Mhm.
books, and I can't imagine. Travis, can you imagine a time when you're not loving comic books, whether or not you're doing your YouTube stuff or joining me on the podcast, just talking about the comics. Can you just imagine your life without comic books?
Not anymore. No. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had to go through times in my life without them, but yeah. I mean, they're. I mean, I can see waxing and waning as far as what excites me and what doesn't excite me, but they add too much to my enjoyment of life to not be reading comics. So,
hmm Exactly. Yep. All right. I think it's time we got out of here, Travis. It's lunchtime for us
yep.
here in the Pacific time zone, and yeah, I'm hungry and cold. My basement is cold today.
Gotta
We've
go
had,
shovel
I
some
think,
snow.
yeah. I think I've had the equivalent of about a foot of snow over the last several days that I've been keeping at bay, and I need to go do that now
Yep.
for the snow that fell overnight.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Again, thank you everybody that joined us and is also listening. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you would like to leave comments regarding this episode, if you just joined us and you wanted to put in your nominations for the categories, the categories are on the website at longboxreview.wordpress.com, and you can leave comments below on that post, or you can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. There's also a link on the website for voice messaging via SpeakPipe. I just started that as well. Maybe some people will, maybe it's easier to press the button with your microphone in front of you and say hey and send it to me. So you have that option as well. Travis, where can they find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at YouTube/Oddfellows Thoughts.
And Travis just did a really cool. I'm gonna call it Travis. A really cool poet. He read a poem, but in a very cool way. That was really visually striking, and it was.
It was
See what I did there?
cool.
I
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
cool.
even know I did it. I didn't
Yeah.
even know I did that
Oh, okay.
until I did it. Uh, anyway, people should check it out. It's what's the poem? I've already forgotten the poem. Oh me, oh life. Is that the
Yep.
name of the poem?
Omeo Life.
Yeah,
Walt Whitman.
yeah. Whitman, the great Walt Whitman. Okay, let's get out of here, Travis. It's
Yes.
thank you again for joining me, and we'll talk the best of stuff probably next year about the same time.
Oh dear.
All right, thanks for watching, and thanks for listening, everybody. Bye bye.